This year is not a date on a calendar. It is a warning whispered through stone, a hinge creaking between eras, a moment when the past stops being silent. You have been told that archaeology is slow, predictable, almost polite, but the ground has begun to argue back. Each layer we peel open rewrites what we thought was fixed. Ancient chambers speak, connect, disrupt. They do not reveal, they intrude. And tonight, we follow the 7 tombs that scholars tried to forget, the sealed places where history fractures, where time contradicts itself, where something older than memory holds objects that should not exist. These discoveries do not simply challenge the official narrative. They threaten to replace it. Buried beneath the wind-shredded dunes of Al-Qamar in northwest Oman, a Bronze Age burial shaft dated to 2400 BC seemed routine, its sandstone blocks undisturbed since sealing. The team from the Leipzig Institute brushed sand from what looked like a corroded ceremonial clasp, assuming another mundane grave good. They logged it casually until the final layer of silt slid off, and every voice died mid-sentence. Under the grit lay a perfectly machined aluminum hinge, identical in geometry to a 1950s aircraft component, complete with microgrooves detectable only under SEM imaging. Skeptics claimed contamination, yet resin analysis and sealed lamina stratigraphy proved the chamber untouched, while the hinge itself bore millennia of mineral patina. If this is just a hinge, then it is the most flawless mechanical coincidence forged 4,000 years before its time. Deep beneath the frost-packed limestone of Vesterhellir, an Icelandic crypt sealed since the early Viking Age, the excavation moved with the dull predictability of routine digs. Carbon soot on the vault walls matched the settlement horizon of 870 AD. Nothing unusual. Then a junior researcher brushed off what everyone assumed was a broken rivet from a burial shield. The moment it turned in her tweezers, the entire team fell silent. Cleaned under low light, the object revealed itself as a miniature tungsten filament coil, perfectly wound, identical to those used in 20th century incandescent bulbs. Spectrography confirmed elemental ratios impossible for Viking metallurgy. Skeptics insisted it was planted, yet the crypt's basalt seal showed zero breach, and the filament carried crystalline weathering that required centuries. If this is just a filament, then it is the most accidental experiment in electrical engineering conceived 1,000 years before its age. High in the copper-stained cliffs of Wadi al-Safar, a collapsed First Dynasty Egyptian chamber lay buried under 6 meters of sediment, its plaster seal intact since 2900 BC. The work moved slowly, predictably, until a dust-caked shard emerged from the debris, assumed to be a fragment of a ceremonial bowl. Only when a technician rinsed it under distilled water did the room freeze. The object was a curved polycarbonate lens, optically perfect, identical in refraction index to modern laboratory eyewear. Raman spectroscopy confirmed synthetic polymers no ancient workshop could produce, yet the lens carried micro-scratches filled with calcite deposits that required millennia to form. Critics muttered fraud, but the chamber's seal showed no intrusion, and the lens fit precisely into a gold frame found beside it. If this is just a lens, then it is the most precise accident in optical engineering crafted 3,000 years ahead of its century. Far below the chalk strata of Montferrand Gorge in southern France, a Paleolithic dolmen, sealed since roughly 18,000 BC, yielded nothing but bone dust and flint flakes for days. The team drifted into monotony until a soil-encrusted plate was pried from a niche, dismissed as a broken piece of antler. The moment it was swabbed clean, the trench fell into absolute stillness. In the lamplight appeared a wafer-thin copper disc etched with uniform, concentric channels, perfectly matching the architecture of a modern vinyl audio record. Metallurgical testing confirmed Ice Age antiquity, the groove oxidation layered in patterns requiring tens of millennia. Skeptics offered every excuse, Yet the dolmen's limestone plug showed no tampering, and the disc's corrosion mapped flawlessly to its geological layer. If this is just a disc, then it is the most coincidentally recorded miracle pressed 18,000 years before its era. Deep beneath the drowned basalt terraces of Lake Kamardaban in Siberia, divers from the Irkutsk Paleoarchaeology Unit uncovered a submerged Iron Age crypt sealed by a mudslide dated to 600 BC. The work was steady, unremarkable, until a diver retrieved what looked like a rusted brooch tangled in silt. When cleaned in a vacuum container aboard the barge, every researcher stopped speaking. The object was a titanium alloy micro-bearing cage, its tolerances identical to components used in 21st century drone rotors, each ring polished with a precision no ancient forge could approach. Tests confirmed authentic aging, oxide layers built over centuries, mineral intrusions locked into microscopic stress lines. Accusations of modern contamination failed when sonar mapping proved the chamber untouched since collapse. If this is just a bearing, then it is the most impossible machine fragment forged 26 centuries before its invention. Under the dense clay of the Taklamakan's western rim, a Han-era burial corridor dated to 120 BC yielded the usual pottery shards and desiccated textiles. The team fell into that half-sleep of routine until a technician lifted what seemed like a calcified pendant. One rinse later, the entire tent fell quiet. In his palm lay a carbon fiber lattice panel, no larger than a coin, its weave identical to aerospace composites patented in the late 20th century. FTIR analysis revealed polymer chains far too advanced for ancient chemistry, yet every strand carried desert abrasion, and hematite crust matching 2,000 years of burial. Skeptics tried the same old lines, but sediment cores showed the corridor untouched since sealing, and the panel's microfractures held mineral blooms impossible to fake. If this is just a panel, then it is a flawless, futuristic accident woven 2 millennia before its age. Beneath the collapsed marble vaults of the ruined Lycian necropolis at Karakaya, a chamber sealed since 400 BC lay in perfect silence, its sandstone plugs fused by centuries of pressure. Excavators moved with practiced calm until a soil-packed lump, assumed to be a corroded amulet, was lifted into the light. When the final trace of grit flaked away, the team stopped breathing. Embedded in the object was a silicon microchip, its grid of etched pathways unmistakably identical to early integrated circuits developed in the mid-20th century. Electron microscopy confirmed ancient mineralization inside every channel, impossible to counterfeit. The chamber's seal showed no breach, and the chip's crystalline overgrowth required more than 2,000 years. If this is just a chip, then it is the most mathematically perfect accident carved centuries before the very idea of computation existed.